Coming up today, another day, another threat out of North Korea as Kim Jong-un orders more nuclear tests. Turning the screw on the North, Seoul and Washington's nuclear envoys are set to talk sanctions in the US. European Central Bank slashes rates and expands its stimulus program in a bid to boost inflation and breathe life into the sluggish Eurozone economy. Plus, Samsung has launched its latest weapons in the smartphone war. The Galaxy S7 and the Galaxy S7 Edge hit the shelves in Korea and dozens of other countries around the world. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Friday, the 11th of March. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Brew. Our top story this afternoon, as the international community decides how to properly implement the strongest ever sanctions on North Korea for its nuclear missile provocations, the regime's leader has issued another defiant call, ordering readiness for nuclear attacks. Kwon So-ah has our top story.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has ordered officials to prepare for nuclear attacks and continue conducting nuclear tests. According to the North state-run Korean Central News Agency Friday, Kim made the remarks while attending a ballistic rocket launch exercise. He reportedly ordered officials to further develop and diversify nuclear capabilities to commence nuclear strikes against enemies on the ground, in the air, at sea, and underwater. Seoul's government called the North's threat a, quote, ignorant and rash act.
It exemplifies why strong, comprehensive sanctions on North Korea, which the international community is working on right now, are needed. The government is prepared to respond immediately to any provocations by North Korea.
Just earlier this week, North Korea claimed to have successfully miniaturized a nuclear warhead, publishing a photo of it in the North's daily Nodong Sinmun. Pyongyang's recent moves come in the wake of international efforts to bring an end to the state's nuclear and missile programs, as sanctions have been tightened on the regime. Denuclearization is expected to be tabled for discussion in Washington Friday, as South Korea's representative to the stalled six-party talks, Kim Hong-gyun, will meet with U.S. officials, including his U.S. counterpart, Sung Kim. Upon arrival, Seoul's top nuclear chief told reporters that it's not an appropriate time to talk about dialogue with North Korea.
South Korea and the U.S. share the position that denuclearization is the highest priority for any talks with North Korea. Both nations agree that the current focus should be on sanctions.
The statement reaffirms Seoul and Washington's opposition to China's two-track proposal of holding peace talks with Pyongyang alongside talks on denuclearization. North Korea had been calling on the U.S. to replace the Korean War Armistice Agreement with an official peace treaty. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Now, a top U.S. military official says Washington is preparing against the threat posed by North Korea by assuming it has the capability to miniaturize a nuclear warhead. Speaking at a Senate Armed Services Committee hearing on Thursday, U.S. Northern Command Commander William Gortney said North Korea can range the continental United States with an intercontinental ballistic missile, and added it would be prudent to assume Pyongyang can put a warhead on an ICBM. He also said Hawaii and Alaska would be well within Pyongyang's range. However, Gortney stressed the U.S. has the ability to defend itself against North Korea, making it clear the U.S. has the ability to engage that threat. He said the intelligence community gives North Korea a very low probability of any chance of success. Now, the chief campaign manager of South Korea's minor opposition People's Party has stepped down from his post following a clash within the party's leadership over uniting the opposition forces. Absent from the party's regular meeting this Friday, Kim Han-gil released a statement saying he had been unable to compromise with the party's co-chair Ahn Cheol-soo. The party's other co-chair, Chun Jung-bae, also expressed that he's willing to defect if solidarity within the opposition parties can't be reached. And Chol-soo, however, rejects any talk of an alliance, saying he will continue to try and break Korea's two-party political system. With a little over a month remaining before the general election, members of the minor opposition camp have been at odds over whether or not to join forces with the main opposition Minju Party of Korea, following the proposal made by the party's interim leader, Kim Jong-un. South Korea's intelligence agency will be allowed to access the banking transaction records of persons suspected of terror-related activities from early April. Under the recently approved Counterterrorism bill, the National Intelligence Service will be able to request financial-related information from the Prosecutor's Office, National Tax Service and Financial Services Commission. The NIS will also be given the power to monitor the private communications of those suspected of terrorism or links with terrorist groups. Under the law, the control tower in charge of counter-terrorism measures will be set up under the Prime Minister's office. The European Central Bank has unleashed some extremely aggressive measures to prop up the Eurozone economy. Now, it has cut all three of its interest rates and expanded buying in the hope of coping with ultra-low inflation. Park Jong-hong with the details.
The stimulus measures were all out and comprehensive. For the first time, the European Central Bank has paved the way for a zero interest rate era by cutting the key lending rate to zero from 0.05%. Also, it pushed the deposit rate further into negative territory to minus 0.4%, a cut of 10 basis points, and the lending facility rate was cut to 0.25% from 0.3%.
The Governing Council expects the key ECB interest rates to remain at present or lower levels for an extended period of time and well past the horizon of our net asset purchases.
The measures are hoped to boost the flagging Eurozone economy, especially by helping to lift inflation in the Eurozone. Inflation has remained lower than the central bank target of 2% for 3 years running. In addition to the rate cuts, the ECB added it would expand its bond-buying stimulus program by raising monthly purchases to 80 billion euros from the current 60 billion, and that it will also include purchases of corporate bonds. The host of measures deemed more radical than investors had expected were the latest in the ECB's quantitative easing program that began a year ago.
Well, the decision of the ECB is a surprise for the entire market. It's beyond expectation, and that's why the market goes up naturally. But on the other hand, the people who are concerned about a possible exit and possible bubbles which might develop are bigger and bigger, and they rise.
As for the day's trading, European markets fell across the board after a brief rally during the day. The FTSE 100 in London closed lower by nearly 1.8%, while the DAX in Frankfurt seemingly bore the brunt of the ECB's initiatives, plunging more than 2.3%. Park Jong-hong, Arirang News.
Now, the wait is finally over. Samsung's latest Galaxy range of smartphones hit the shelves across Korea this morning. Samsung says it focused on adding as many features as possible, and it is confident the Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge will break the company's past sales records. Kim Min-ji with the details.
Will Samsung's latest smartphones be able to turn tables in the much saturated smartphone market? After being unveiled to the public last month, the Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge were launched in some 50 countries worldwide on Friday, including its home turf. You can pick up a 32GB Galaxy S7 for $690 in Korea and the S7 Edge for $770, both slightly cheaper than their predecessors. Samsung says they focused on addressing consumers' wants and needs.
Our aim in making the S7 and S7 Edge was to make them much more valuable and comprehensive than other conventional smartphones. We tried to incorporate in the latest models the innovations that consumers wanted in a phone.
So what can we look out for in the latest models? The glass and metal encased smartphones come with batteries that last a lot longer, water and dust resistance, not to mention some of the popular features from the previous S6 model. Samsung has also adopted a dual-pixel sensor for the cameras for the first time in smartphone history, which will enhance photo quality to levels of high-end cameras, and has brought back the micro SD card slot for increased memory capacity. With that, the tech giant says it's confident that the sales of the Galaxy S7 will surpass that of the previous S6, which sold about 38 million units last year. But with Samsung's local rival LG Electronics soon to launch its new G5, the industry's first modular-type smartphone, which can connect with various accessories to improve sound and enhance camera functions, the world's biggest smartphone maker is in for a tough challenge.
The design's not very different from its previous model, and rather than focus on innovation, it's more like being faithful to the basics. Rather, it's the new LG smartphone that's under the spotlight. The modular smartphone is likely to create a market sensation.
While analysts say the release of the latest models may bring a slight uptick in profits in Samsung's mobile division, they don't have major game-changing aspects that will win over consumers. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, global oil prices have slipped from a 3-month high amid uncertainty about when the meeting between producers to freeze output will take place. On Thursday, the price of West Texas Intermediate fell 1.2% to $37.84 a barrel. Brent crude slid 2.5% to just over $40. The prices dropped after Reuters reported that a meeting between Saudi Arabia, Russia and other producers is unlikely to happen on March 20th as previously scheduled. The producers' hesitation follows Iran's reluctance to join efforts to freeze production as the nation seeks to rebuild its exports following years under tough sanctions. The world's largest crude exporters, Saudi Arabia and Russia, and other OPEC members have announced plans to freeze production at January levels if other major producers follow suit. Now, more and more young Koreans are opening up convenience stores amid the high youth unemployment rate in the country. According to convenience store franchise CU, the number of new store owners in their 20s and 30s rose by 2 percentage points and 3 percentage points respectively in 2015 compared to the previous year. The number of new owners in their 40s and 50s fell over the same period by 1 percentage point and 5 percentage points respectively. Now, the rise in the number of young owners is attributed to high unemployment and the unstable climate in the job market for young people. CU also says it's because convenience stores require less start-up costs compared to other franchise businesses. Convenience stores posted strong sales growth of nearly 30% last year from the previous year. Now, it's machine 2, human 0. Those that tip professional Go player and fellow human Lee Se-dol for victory over AlphaGo earlier this week may have underestimated Google's AI computer program. But our Kim Jong-un tells us why AlphaGo's victories are no fluke.
It seems as if Google's computer program AlphaGo has the capability to learn just like a human. That's because it's based on an artificial intelligence program called deep learning, an information processing technology that imitates human nerve cells. But unlike humans, the program never ceases its continuous learning of Baduk or Go, not even for a second. AlphaGo is an improved version of previous computer programs, which was only capable of pre-programmed moves. AlphaGo is supposed to imitate how humans learn, but it may actually surpass human intelligence in terms of higher learning capacity. AlphaGo practices Baduk some 3,000 times a day, 1 million times in a month. That would take a professional Baduk player 3 games a day for 1,000 years to accomplish the same feat. In fact, it continues to learn even while AlphaGo is playing against professional Baduk player Lee Se-dol.
The improved version of AI is on par with human intelligence, while earlier versions were limited to certain features. In that sense, AlphaGo is an improved AI version that specializes in playing Baduk.
AlphaGo has been programmed to learn 160,000 Baduk game sets and learn to play 1 million Baduk game sets in a month on its own. Google's DeepMind, which developed AlphaGo, says the ultimate goal for the program is to solve real-world problems in the near future, building on the learning process gained from playing Baduk. Kim Jong-un, Arirang News.
Now, tens of thousands of documents containing 22,000 names, addresses, phone numbers and family contacts of Islamic State fighters have been obtained by a British broadcaster. Sky News reports that nationals from more than 50 countries, including Britain, had to give up their most personal information as they joined the terror organisation. Now, some of the names are well known to intelligence agencies, but the documents reveal the identities of a number of previously unknown jihadis from Western and Middle Eastern countries. The papers show many of the men passed through a series of jihadi hotspots, such as Yemen, Sudan, Tunisia, Libya, Pakistan and Afghanistan on multiple occasions, but were apparently unchecked, unmonitored and able to both enter Syria to fight and then to return home. The files were given to Sky News by a former senior member of ISIS. Well, that's all we have for now on this Friday lunchtime here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for watching our newscasts, and we'll be back throughout the day with more bulletins to keep you updated. So until then, goodbye.